Welcome to my first mock draft for the 2021 NFL Draft. This is going to be my first mock draft, and this is before the Senior Bowl and Pro Days, so a lot could obviously change. I'm going to be predicting a little bit about some players that might rise up a little because of Pro Days, just looking into the future. But let's just go ahead and get right into this draft. First off, we have Trevor Lawrence. I think this is an obvious pick. I think everyone knows he's going to go there. Definitely by far the most talented player in this class. A generational quarterback, probably the best quarterback prospect we've seen since someone like Andrew Luck, and the Jaguars can't pass on that. Number 2 for the Jets, they just got a great coaching staff in Robert Saleh and Mike LaFleur coming over from San Francisco, and I think they're going to get a new quarterback to run that system. I don't think Sam Darnold's the answer, and I think Robert Saleh wants his guy that he can run with, so really it's between Fields and Wilson. And overall, I think they both have flaws in their games. I think they both have a lot that they do really well. But I'm going to take Zach Wilson because I like Zach Wilson more because he has physical attributes that Justin Fields doesn't have. I have some more concerns about Justin Fields. He played incredible in the playoffs for the college football playoffs. And I think that's the only reason he's even in this conversation with Zach Wilson. He's definitely the most accurate quarterback. I'll give that to him, but some of the things about the arm strength, and he's not very good with a lot of progressions. We saw him get a little bit better in the playoffs, but overall, I think Zach Wilson's just a better prospect, and I think the Jets are going to take him at number 2. Going on to number 3 is the Miami Dolphins. Now, I do think it sounds like there's a very high possibility this could be the Texans pick again, as it was originally the Texans pick, because it seems like Dolphins are very interested in the number 1 landing spot for Deshaun Watson right now. But for the sake of this mock draft, I'm going to just pick as the Dolphins here at number 3. And I am going to... Now, for the Dolphins, you have your quarterback in Tua. You could definitely go O-line. They could definitely go receiver. But I think if they're going to go with Tua, I think the one main thing that they need to do is protect Tua, because if he's your franchise quarterback, he had that really bad injury. You don't need him getting hurt again. So I got them going Penei Sewell. I still think he's the best tackle. I know some people have Slater above him for the best tackle, but I still think pound for pound, Penei Sewell is the best tackle in this class, and the Dolphins need to protect Tua if that's what they're going to run with in the future. Going on to the Falcons, I actually think there's a lot of debate on whether or not they take a quarterback or not. I think they're going to take a quarterback and try and flip Matt Ryan. I think there's a new coach coming in, and I think he is going to, I think it's Arthur Smith, I believe, and he is going to come in and he's going to want his quarterback. I think that they have a lot of weapons, and I think Matt Ryan's just not getting it done. I think he's still a good quarterback, but they're going to go ahead and take Justin Fields here at 3. I think he's definitely still better than Trey Lance, but I think quarterback is the option. If they don't go quarterback, there's definitely some options, whether they want to build another corner and keep building that defense, or if they want to get someone like a Jamar Chase to pair with Calvin Ridley, and if they end up flipping Julio, who knows? If Julio gets traded, this could be a Jamar Chase pick. Very easy for the Falcons, but we'll have to see in the future if Julio is still on the team, because if you still keep Julio and Ridley, I think Russell Gage is a good third. I don't think they need to draft a receiver high. Going on to the Bengals, a lot of people I think Jamar Chase, but at the same time, Joe Burrow got killed this last year, and he was getting hit left, right, and center, and you just knew he wasn't going to last. He ended up getting hurt, and I think they have to go out and take Rashawn Slater, who some people are arguing is the best tackle in the class. I think you can't pass on him. I think they need to go O-line. I think receiver would help. I still think they have T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd are 2 very good receivers, and as much as someone like Jamar Chase would help them out, I think O-line is a way more pressing need, because it doesn't matter what receivers you have if Joe Burrow's hurt every year. Going on to pick 6 for the Philadelphia Eagles, this should be an easy pick. I could see them looking in a corner market with a Caleb Farley or Patrick Surtain. Micah Parsons, they just got their new coach Sirianni, had a guy like Darius Leonard coming in on the defense because they grabbed the Colts DB coach, so they definitely they're going to run the Colts kind of defense, which could be a guy like Micah Parsons coming in, replacing that Darius Leonard role. But I just think whatever quarterback they're going to build around, they need as many weapons as possible, and I think Jamar Chase is going to help that a lot. Going on to number 7 at the Detroit Lions. Now, this is interesting because Detroit Lions are moving on from Matt Stafford. We know this. So this could be a quarterback pick. But at the same time, I think that I don't know if I'm the Lions if I would take a chance on someone like Trey Lance. I think I would rather maybe get myself a top tier talent with this pick and then go out and maybe even just be really bad, because they could easily be the worst team in the league next year, and get your top quarterback in next year's draft. Don't know who that's going to be at this point, but they'll probably be a new quarterback that they can take, probably the best quarterback in the next class, rather than taking a big chance on someone like Trey Lance. So, what I'm going, I assume they're losing Kenny Golladay, receivers, a big option. They just drafted a corner in the first round, so I'm not really thinking Surtain or Farley. Micah Parsons could be a big hit, but I think they're going to get a receiver. I think the receiver group's going to be very depleted, especially if Golladay leaves, which I think he will. And I think they're going to take Jalen Waddle. I think he's probably the most dynamic athlete at receiver in this class. And I know Devontae Smith had a great year, but he was a great college player. I have concerns about his frame. He gets good separation, but he was the main focus of Alabama. I don't know how well he's definitely going to be a good prospect. I just think Jalen Waddle and Jamar Chase have him beat out if I'm looking at a top 10 receiver. Going on to the Carolina Panthers now. The Carolina Panthers have a lot of ways they can go, but I'm going to say that a lot of people might be thinking Trey Lance, but you've seen Matt Rule came in, took someone like Derek Brown. He wants to build up that defense, get them right. I have them taking Micah Parsons, get themselves their next Luke Kuechly. I'm not comparing Micah Parsons to Luke Kuechly. I'm just saying they want to get themselves linebacker, sideline to sideline, can run all around and sturdy that defense. And that should be a really good defense. I think they're going to give Teddy Bridgewater another chance. He looked good. He wasn't great, but he wasn't bad either. I think they're going to give him another chance to roll, and that defense is going to be very good next year with some of the great pass rushers you have with Brian Burns, and then you go into Micah Parsons and then back to Jeremy Chin in the secondary. There's going to be a scary defense. Now moving on to the Denver Broncos. Broncos are interesting. They definitely need a corner. They could be a team looking at Trey Lance. I'm going to have them taking Caleb Farley. I think he's a converted receiver. Technique-wise, Surtain is probably better, but Caleb Farley is just a raw athlete, and I think he can be a great corner. Probably has a higher ceiling than Patrick Surtain. I think they're going to sturdy up that defense, give Drew Lock another run, and see how it goes. Now going on to the Cowboys, this is an interesting pick that a lot of people might not agree with, but I think the Cowboys are personally going to lose Dak Prescott. I don't think they want to pay him that money, and they're sitting here at number 10 with Trey Lance on the board. Jerry Jones probably has his high mind that he can develop any quarterback, and Trey Lance is one of the most physically gifted quarterbacks in this class, probably one of the best at running, up there with Justin Fields, and he's got an arm too, we've seen at North Dakota State. I think they pick Trey Lance. I think they're going to get their replacement. Dak Prescott leaves and gets the big money somewhere else, and Trey Lance is going to fill in for that QB, maybe sit a year or half a year under Andy Dalton, and then come in and be the guy for the Dallas Cowboys. They're going to the next pick with the New York Giants. They have a lot of needs. They could go edge rusher for sure. They could go with someone like Kyle Pitts. They could go with Devontae Smith. I don't think they go with Surtain. I think they have a very good secondary. I think their defense is pretty good. They could definitely use an edge rusher. But I think their receiving room right now, as good as it looks with a lot of the guys they have, I think they need to get another playmaker. So I have them picking Devontae Smith. Kyle Pitts is a person I've seen a lot going there who could be very interesting. I just think Devontae Smith, pairing him up with Slayton, and then you got someone like Golden Tate in the slot. I think that's they need to do everything they can to give it one last shot with Daniel Jones before they move on. So that's Devontae Smith is going to help them with that. They had a great defense last year. They need to try and score some points. Now going on to the San Francisco 49ers, probably the easiest pick of this draft in my mind, the easiest pick so far, Patrick Surtain. You can't really pass on him if you're the Niners. Richard Sherman could be leaving, and then you have someone like Patrick Surtain, arguably the top corner with Caleb Farley still on the board at a position of need. That's a no-brainer for the Niners there. Going on to the Los Angeles Chargers. This is an interesting one because they definitely have someone like Melvin Ingram leaving, and they could get their pick at the top pass rusher in the class. They could go for a tackle. They definitely need to protect Justin Herbert. They could go for someone like Kyle Pitts and just give Justin Herbert everything he can to be successful. But at the same time, they brought in a defensive-minded coach in Staley, and I think he's going to sit there and I think he believes Herbert can do Herbert will make plays and put up points. We saw that no matter who he has, they need to bolster this defense. I think they're going to go with the physical specimen in Kwity Paye from Michigan. His 3-cone drill was insane. Those videos, he's playing really well at some of the stuff, and I think he's going to rise up boards after Pro Days. Physical specimen, and with Melvin Ingram probably leaving, they're going to pair him across from Joey Bosa, and that's a scary pass rush that not a lot of teams want to see. Now moving on to the Minnesota Vikings, I think they're looking at a similar place. They're sad that the Kwity Paye just went, but there's definitely some other good edge guys on the board. So I think they definitely look edge. Now, for my money, if we're looking around 14, we're looking around a Gregory Rousseau probably. There's a couple other good ones, but I'm definitely going Gregory Rousseau. I think he's an incredible athlete. I think he could some people have him higher than Kwity Paye. Like this mock draft, this website has him higher. I like Kwity Paye's athleticism more, but Gregory Rousseau, great bend. And he's exactly what they need. They had no pass rush this last year, so he's going to help them on the defensive side a lot. Now going in, this is another dream scenario for another team that's always had great tight ends, that has great schemes for tight ends, and Kyle Pitts falls right in the lap of the New England Patriots. This would be an incredible pick for the Patriots. I've done this whole mock draft. I don't know how many times I do in mock draft that Kyle Pitts falls to 15. I think he's a top 5 player in the draft. I think he could definitely go higher, but I have him right now going 15, and that's an incredible pick if you're New England. Going on to the next pick, we have Arizona at 16. Arizona's another team with a lot of needs. I think with Kyler Murray, they want to try and build around him. And I think when you want to build around Kyler Murray, you need to get him some protection, keep building up that O-line. I'm going Christian Darrisaw from Virginia Tech. I think he's that next tier of tackle, that number 3 tackle on a lot of people's boards. And I think they just need to keep building up that O-line. Their run game wasn't good at all. Maybe getting someone like Christian Darrisaw can help. But you can't be having Kyler Murray get hurt, and you want to... He didn't get hurt last year, but you want to prevent him from getting hurt, and you want to stack up that O-line. Now going to the Las Vegas Raiders, there's a lot of places they can go. They signed a lot of linebackers, so I don't see them drafting, even though they didn't turn out like they did. D-line is a huge need. They had a lot of trouble rushing the passer, even with all their picks they've put into the D-line. Offensive line, their O-line's getting pretty old out there other than Trent Brown. And so for that case, I'm going Christian Barmore. I really like him on the inside. Pair him up with someone like Maurice Hurst. Get you an inside pass rush. Help stuff the run. I think he's an incredible player. Bama D linemen usually don't go wrong. And he's another one that I think he's just an incredible player. So I could see him going right there to the Las Vegas Raiders. Now the Dolphins are back up on the board. Now if you remember last time, the Dolphins, we got them Penei Sewell. Now they're thinking they had a great defense last year. We got Tua. We're going to keep building around Tua and give him everything he can. Now, if you look at how Tua plays, Tua's a lot of quick passes across the middle. You know, he's not that kind of Justin Herbert arm talent that's going to throw the 20-yard outs, that's going to throw the bang 8 shots. Like, he's a guy that's going to throw a lot of underneath routes quick, get it to your receivers and go. And I think one of the guys that I think is one of the best receivers at working across the middle, who's dropped on some boards, but I still think he's one of the best guys across the middle and runs some crisp routes and has some great comparisons to Keenan Allen. I'm going Rashad Bateman right here for the Miami Dolphins. I think Miami has to help Tua every way they can. Their defense showed that they can ball. They got a lot going on there. They just need to help Tua and get the most out of him, and that's how they're going to be successful. So Rashad Bateman, give him another target. It's a great pick for Miami. Going on to the Washington football team. Washington football team has a lot of ways they can go. They could be looking at quarterback, but I don't know how they want to look at quarterback. They definitely, their defense is great. There's a couple places they could go on the O-line. for sure. They definitely need some O-line help. So for that case, I'm going Samuel Cosmi here. I think he's in that second tier of tackle, up there with Darisaw. And I think Washington needs to just help out that O-line for whoever they're going to have at quarterback, whether it's Tyler Hinkie, whether they liked what they saw from him, whether they bring in somebody. I just think it's too... I'm not a huge Mac Jones guy. I think it's too early to pick Mac Jones. So get yourself a tackle and Cosme and try and get your quarterback elsewhere or later rounds. Or try and get Mac Jones somewhere second round. Try and get, someone maybe like Jamie Newman. If he has a lot of untapped potential. I think someone maybe in the second round. Going on to the Chicago Bears. Now, it looks like they're back and forth with Trubisky. They don't really know what's going to happen with him. I personally think Trubisky's gone. It sounds like that. And as much as I say I'm not a big fan of Mac Jones, they're a team that I could see taking a chance on Mac Jones. A lot of Chicago fans might not like that pick, but I could definitely see they have a lot of talent on that defense right now. Their receivers, you could definitely go receiver there if you're them, with Allen Robinson probably leaving. But I think that I think Trubisky's going to leave, and Chicago's going to be left struggling to get a quarterback because this defense isn't going to be there for much longer, and they're going to try and get a quarterback who they think can go ahead and get in and win them some games, and I think that's going to be Mac Jones. I don't know how I feel about that pick myself, but it's just a Chicago pick that I could see happening. So there you go. Moving on to Indianapolis. Looking at some of the top talent left, they could definitely use an edge rusher, get some help on the edge. They could use a corner. They had some corners play really well, but Xavier Rhodes is going to be gone, who was one of their top corners who played a lot this past year. They could definitely get a new weapon in there. I think they're a high potential landing spot for Matt Stafford. So I'm thinking if Matt Stafford comes in, I think they want to get him another weapon in that Frank Reich offense. And I think it's really between... I'm still a big fan of Rondale Moore, but a lot of guys like Terrence Marshall and Kadarius Toney have been rising up boards, and I'm going Kadarius Toney. He's just a playmaker. He's like a human joystick out on the field, and Frank Reich's, with his offense, will find many ways to get that guy the ball, pair him up with Pittman. If T.Y.'s still there, I don't think he will be, but he's a guy that can go and pair with Pittman, put him in the slot, put him on the outside, give him jet sweeps, whatever you want. However you want to get him the ball, he's going to make plays. And that's someone that Indy can use, especially if they get a guy like Matt Stafford come in and make that offense. Because their defense was great. As I said, they're going to lose some guys, but make that offense on a similar level to that defense, and they're going to be a very good team. Now going on to the Tennessee Titans, they're liking this board right now. They got a lot of edge guys. I think they got to go edge. They got a lot of edge guys left. Their pass rush has been struggling no matter who they bring in. With Harold Landry and Jadeveon Clowney, they're not getting that pass rush. I'm going to go with one of my favorite players in the draft. I'm going to go with Ojulari out of Georgia. He had a great... I can't remember exactly what bowl it was, but their bowl game against Cincinnati, he made a lot of big plays, made a couple big sacks in the end of the game. That's what you love to see. Dudes playing big in big moments. Ojulari, he's a very great player, and I think he'd be a perfect fit coming in as an edge rusher for the Tennessee Titans. Going on to the Jets now, picked Zach Wilson earlier in this draft. They're coming in. I think this is when our first running back goes. We've seen running backs go, or later in the first round usually. I think the Jets, they literally have one of the worst, maybe the worst running back situation in the league right now. So it's really between Etienne and Najee Harris. I personally like Najee Harris better. I think he's a guy that you can hand the ball to 25 times and he can carry your team. So I have him going to the Jets, pairing him with Zach Wilson, a whole new backfield. With some of the receivers they have, like Crowder and Mims, I think that could be a very good offense. And Robert Saleh is going to get that defense right. And the Jets could be a very interesting team. Now, I could see them easily picking Etienne. For my money, I like Najee Harris here a little bit better. And going on to the Pittsburgh Steelers, this is one of my favorite matches. I've seen it in a couple. I'm pretty sure Mel Kiper had him in his recent mock draft. Zaven Collins, I think he's a perfect fit for Pittsburgh out there. Zaven Collins has been running almost as a D-end with some of his listings, and I think that he'd be perfect to pair across from TJ Watt and kind of replace what Bud Dupree had when they leave, because you saw that defense was a whole different defense with Bud Dupree. So get someone like Zaven Collins who can replace Bud Dupree and get you, and then that D-line is still one of the top. They'll probably lead the league in sacks and pressures again next year. Now moving on, Jacksonville back up on the clock. They got Trevor Lawrence earlier in the draft. They have a lot of holes still on this team, and there's a lot of places they can go, so it's probably going to be a kind of best available pick. There's a guy like Elijah Vera Tucker, top O lineman, probably left. Wyatt Davis, a little concerning with he didn't play as well this year. Got injured in, I believe it was the national championship. He got injured. Got a guy like Joseph Asai, one of the top edge rushers still, but they have put a lot in that position with Josh Allen and Chase on, so I don't think they're going there. For my money, I think with this pick, you need to build up an O-line to put in front of Trevor Lawrence. And looking at the tackles, Leatherwood could definitely be a good... Yeah, I'm going to go with Alex Leatherwood. I think he's in that third-tier tackle. So I think there's definitely the first-tier tackles if we look back with Slater and Sewell. I think they're that top tier. You got their second tier. I think guys like Darisaw and Cosme are in the second tier. I think Leatherwood's in that next tier. Could slide into guard a lot of teams, but I think he's still a very good tackle, and you definitely need a tackle. You need to try and protect Trevor Lawrence so that he doesn't get hurt like we saw with Joe Burrow. Moving on to the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns are in an interesting spot here. If they end up trading Odell, which could very well happen, you could be looking at receivers. There's a lot of good guys on the board. Terrence Marshall, Rondale Moore, Tylan Wallace is playing pretty well at the Senior Bowl right now. They could also look at, I don't like corner for them. I still think they have really good corners in Denzel Ward and Greedy Williams. They've just been hurt a lot. They could look at Owusu Koromoa. You guys know who I'm talking about, out of Notre Dame. Their O-line was pretty solid. I don't think they really need to look there. Definitely don't need a running back. Edge rusher, they definitely could use someone to probably replace Olivier Vernon. But for my money, I think the best player available they kind of go with is Owusu Koromoa. I think they're going to pair him in there with Mac Wilson, get a great linebacking core, keep relying on that run game, and then if you want to rely on a run game on offense, you need to rely on a good defense that can stop the run and hold teams to less points because you're going to have a lot of possession. Wusu Koromoa, sideline to sideline guy, definitely one of the best players in the draft. I'll actually probably be surprised if he lasts all the way to Cleveland here at 26. He's definitely a better inside kind of guy over Zaven Collins. They're kind of two different linebackers. He's probably the better overall prospect out of him and Zaven Collins. But I have Zaven Collins going over him just because of the kind of player he is. Fits more with what Pittsburgh needs, whereas Koromoa is more of an inside kind of linebacker. And going on to the Ravens. The Ravens are interesting here. I think they could definitely use some edge help. I don't know if what their plans are with Yannick Ngakoue, if they're planning on keeping him or not. This is a very interesting pick. I think they could definitely go interior O-line. For the best bang for your buck pick, I'm going to keep going best player available when they're in these kind of situations. I'm going Joseph Asai. I think he's maybe the best player available still on the board. Maybe JC. I still like him. I think he's the best player available on the board at a position that they could definitely use and help bolster that defense, because the defense started... They played well, but they also struggled against teams like Cleveland. They gave up a lot of points, and they didn't get much pass rush, and I think he could help, especially if Yannick Ngakoue ends up leaving. Now moving on to the New Orleans Saints. I definitely don't think they're going quarterback, even if people think, because Drew Brees is probably gone. They're either probably rocking with one of the quarterbacks they already have on the roster, or they're trading for someone else. I definitely don't see them going quarterback in the draft. So they're looking at playmakers. I think if you got to get them a playmaker, or you could go defense, you could go with a guy like J.C. Horn. They definitely could use a corner like that. But I think they like their corners, and if they're going to rock with someone that we've seen like a Jameis Winston, which is, I think, the main priority. You need to get him weapons. Jameis Winston will put up 300 yards a game and throw 4 touchdowns. The thing you get is a picks, but you got to provide him with as much talent to see what he can really do. So I'm actually, a lot of people are dropping. I still think Rondale Moore, he didn't play a lot this year, but I still think he's the most electrifying, if not the most electrifying athlete in this class. Smaller guy, very fast slot guy. Pair him up with Michael Thomas on the outside. He's just a difference maker, and I really like him. Could see a guy like Terrence Marshall going before him, definitely. I'm just a big Rondale Moore guy. He's one of my favorite players in this draft. So I'm going to have him going right there to the Saints at 28. Now moving on to the Green Bay Packers. Now, Green Bay Packers, looking at J.C. Horn, they're saying, hey, Kevin King just cost us a game. We might have to get someone like J.C. Horn. Kevin King might not be the answer. Or they could say, hey, we've still never given Aaron Rodgers his weapons, so we're going to finally get him a weapon, make sure he stays and doesn't ask out. We're getting Terrence Marshall, finally giving Aaron Rodgers another weapon, pair him with Devontae Adams, and you got guys like Scantling and Lazard who are great guys to pair up and just create that receiver room and get Aaron Rodgers even happier and make it run back. They had a very good team this year. They could have easily made the Super Bowl, so a guy like Terrence Marshall can bust them to that next level and probably make the Super Bowl. Now going on to the Buffalo Bills, they are exactly where J.C. Horn is going to go. They could use that other corner. They've had guys switching in, like Levi Wallace has played well, but I think they need that other guy, and J.C. Horn's a great pick. Perfect fit. That could go running back. I like the depth at running back in this class more. There's a lot of guys like Trey Sermon, Chuba Hubbard, Javonte Williams, Jarrett Patterson. There's a lot of guys I like that they can get later in the draft. Whereas corner, I mean, there's definitely some other guys, but like you're gonna see a wave of the Sean Wade's, Eric Stokes. These are probably the next other. I'm not a big fan of Sean Wade, but Eric Stokes, another great guy. But I could see him. I could see Eric Stokes here because J.C. Horn's more of a slot guy. They definitely could use a slot guy. I think that's why I have them going J.C. Horn, because they don't have a slot guy. But I could see someone like Eric Stokes if they want to pair him outside with Tre'Davious White. Moving on to the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers need to bolster a couple spots on their roster. Their D-line's very good. I don't think they're really looking edge. They definitely could get another tackle to pair with Wirfs, who's been one of the best rookies. And I actually think that's where they're going to go. I'm going to go Jalen Mayfield. Great tackle prospect. Put him at left, keeping Wirfs on the right. Keep protecting Tom Brady. Tom Brady does not like pressure. If he gets pressured, he doesn't play well. So they need someone to protect Tom Brady. Jalen Mayfield's going to do exactly that and pair him from Tristan Wirfs, and you got yourself a pretty good tackle core right there. Now, Kansas City Chiefs is interesting because they always make that little weird pick, that always seems like it's a really smart pick afterwards, like the Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But as much as they've done that in the past, I think this year they have to go with the best players that are on the board. And I'm looking right now, either there's a couple linemen. I know Eichenberg, he's pretty good. Redunds, they could be looking tackle if they want. I don't think they're going to look tackle. More interior, Vera Tucker, I think would be the best interior guy left that they would be looking at. I'm a big fan of Davion Nixon. I think he's a very good player. He's definitely probably a first-round talent that could go. Looking around, Nick Bolton could definitely go here. He's a great linebacker. I'm going to have them going Eric Stokes here in the secondary, finishing up the mock draft. And I think that's a great pick for them. Fill out their secondary. They need to be able to, if they're going to be putting up 42 points a game, they need to be able to stop dudes from putting up 42 points a game on them. So Eric Stokes is going to help that secondary. So going back through, just quick look, this was all my picks. If you guys see anyone different, question why I put some, let me know what you guys would change. Let me know if you think I had any dumb picks, any really smart picks. I'm going to do a couple more mock drafts hopefully before. We'll do some trades in some of the next ones. I try to stay away from the trades, especially. I was thinking about doing a trade here at number 3 if Deshaun Watson ends up getting dealed, but I decided not to. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed it. And I'll see you guys in the future for future videos. Thank you guys for watching.